Can you guys hear me now? Hopefully you can. Sorry about that. A classic, thanks. A classic 2024 just did a whole lot of talking on mute. So sorry about that, everybody. We'll go back here. We're going to talk about leveling up your marketing today. This is going to be a bit more of a conversation today because I just want to do things a little bit more casual today. I've got some points I'd like to hit on here, but if you have any questions or anything that you'd like to discuss with me, if you disagree with something, please type it in the chat. Let's have a conversation today about these marketing strategies and what's working for you, what's not. I'm open here. I'm more than happy to answer your questions, talk something through with you. And my information is on the screen if you'd like to get in contact with me. I've had a couple of people reach out over the last however many years that I've been here who just want to have a little bit of a brand audit, who just want to talk about what marketing that they're doing, whether or not they think it's worth it, what I think of their logo and how everything looks. Please feel free to reach out to me. Cornerstone is your resource, and that includes for marketing as well. That's my job. I'm here to help and happy to provide any kind of guidance that I can. So there's my information if you need it. And today we're going to talk about leveling up your marketing from where it is. So no matter where it is that you're starting, even if you're starting from absolute zilch, there's nothing going on with your marketing, you don't even have a logo, that's okay. We're going to start off with a couple of different levels of marketing, where you would go from level 1 to get to level 2, some things that I would personally avoid as somebody who's been focusing on marketing in the health insurance industry for the last just under a decade, some strategies that I would recommend, things like that. So like I said, I'd like this to be kind of a casual conversation, sort of a panel. So questions, please leave them in the chat. So first, we have to discuss the fact that health insurance and marketing health insurance is so extremely competitive. It really is, especially when you are up against people like United Healthcare or Anthem. You could be working with them, but online, they're using those same keywords. They're targeting the same audiences, and they have a much bigger budget than most small businessmen do. That being said, of course, you might work for a larger agency in which you might have a little bit more of an option for a budget, but if you're a small broker and your budget for marketing is this, it's really difficult to stand out in a crowded room. So these are going to be some strategies that you can use to hopefully get yourself noticed despite all those budgetary constraints that you might have. So before we get started, I just wanted to talk about a couple of strategies that I think are worth your while as of right now. And most of those things are going to be related to your digital presence. So your website, your social media, anything that you can do to garner attention online, that seems to be where all of the trends are pointing for marketing going forward. This is not just going to be a 2024 thing. This is honestly 2022 and beyond. It has slowly increased as the years have gone by, and the landscape for everything has changed so drastically. You wouldn't believe it. When I was putting together this webinar, sometimes I'll go back to my old webinars and I'll look at some stats that I looked up or some of the tips and tricks that I had put in my old webinars. A lot of that stuff doesn't even apply anymore because it changes so frequently, month over month, day over day. Trends are changing, things that people want, things that people don't want. It's always different. But the thing that's always a mainstay is just being online, having a website presence, having a social media presence, which I know kind of gives you guys a little bit of I don't want to do that. That sounds like a lot of work. It is. Unfortunately, that is where marketing is these days. Marketing is in building those online communities, building a presence, creating yourself as an expert online for reaching those people. And of course, there's some caveats in there that we can discuss, but it all comes down to just establishing that community, establishing that presence. So I highly encourage you to look towards those strategies moving forward rather than trying as many grassroots marketing, print marketing. We'll go through my list of kind of like no-nos for marketing later, but we really want to focus on the future. We want to focus on digital marketing and being online. So that's kind of what we're going to talk most about today. So that's going to mean things like I said, establishing a community. That's going to mean doing things that are edutainment based. So you're an educator on your platform. You are somebody who's going to teach people about health insurance. Health insurance is inherently complicated. It is very, very difficult to understand for the average person. So how can you be an expert in the industry and let them know that it can be simple? Here's how you can simplify it for yourself. Tracking your analytics and actually responding to those analytics, what's working, what's not working, and how you can grow from there. Seeking any kind of partnerships, just like you might partner with a financial advisor to do, an event at a local, hotspot. You want to do the same thing online. You want to find partnerships that you can use that will help you gather attention, that will help get your name out there to different audiences. There are a couple of ways to do that as well that we can talk about. And then last but not least is reviews and testimonials. So getting those reviews, getting those Google reviews once you have your website posted, and just getting people talking about your brand. Because one of the most important things to remember about health insurance marketing is that most of the year, if you really think about it, it's going to be brand awareness. Health insurance marketing is extremely seasonal. I mean, OEP is at the end of the year. From like February to August, you're talking about dental and vision, you're talking about special enrollments. But most of that chunk of the year, most of your budget is going to want to be during open enrollment, during that time where you're looking actively for more people. And of course, that timeline is going to shift based on if you are an employee benefits broker, if you are a health or an individual and family broker. Obviously, that's all going to shift based on those seasonalities. But for the most part, if you are sending out your marketing throughout the year and you're not getting any clicks, it's not because there's no interest in your product. It's not because there's no interest in your service. It's because it's not needed at that moment. If they don't need health insurance, there's nothing they can do about that. They can't just up and change it. They have to wait until open enrollment or a special enrollment period for them to actually switch over. They can't do anything. What you want to do is focus on your brand awareness, because the more that you put your name out there and say, hi, my name is Jess Larkin and I am an expert in this industry. So when you need health insurance or when your family or friends need health insurance, I am the very first name that you think of. That's the goal. That makes it extremely complicated because throughout the year, you could be doing things that give you, let's say that you're running Google ads all year and you are getting impressions out the wazoo. You are getting 700,000 impressions, but you are getting maybe 10 calls from that month. That's not a lot of calls based on that number of impressions. It's easy to look at those numbers and say, this was a total failure of the campaign. This did absolutely nothing for us. That's not true. The impressions speak for themselves. The impressions are showing you, hi, there is interest. I can't do anything about it right now. I don't need your services right now, but you've done a good job of making me think about your specific brand. Okay, I do have one question. With social media, I struggle getting content out that's relevant. I rely on several resources, but also internal team members, and I don't get much involvement. What can I do to be more intentional with social media? You're asking exactly the correct question, which is how can I get content out that is relevant? It's about following those trends, and unfortunately, I know that's kind of the worst possible thing that you can hear for a lot of people. A lot of people are not social media people, and that is okay. Unfortunately, business is now on social media. But you had it exactly right that you need to find content that is relevant. However, you also need to find content that stands out. So these days, it doesn't really cut it if you have a Facebook page and you're just sending out like links to WebMD or links to Kaiser Health or any kind of thing, like basically using somebody else's content for your page. That kind of stuff doesn't really work for social media anymore. You need to add more you. How can you add your own spin on this information? So if you put out information from CMS and it is talking about the latest news for from health insurance. How can you put your opinion in that post, rather than just posting it and saying, this is what CMS said. Okay, but what are your thoughts on what is being said? That's one way that you can establish yourself as an expert in the industry. Again, like I said, making sure that you're keeping up with those trends, trying to have a little bit more fun with your posts as well, and showing your personality. They want to see the person behind the brand. They don't just want to see the brand anymore. They need to see that there's a face there, there's somebody in charge, or multiple people in charge, and they want to have fun while they're looking at your content. People don't go onto social media just to learn about health insurance. They go out there to forget about whatever it is that they're doing. They're scrolling in between getting their coffee and going over to the office themselves. They don't really want to just learn about what CMS has to say. How can you entertain them with the content that you're creating? And that requires a lot more effort, and it requires a lot more planning, but that's the way that you stay relevant on social media. And we can talk about that a little bit more as we go as well. One thing kind of related to that is, how can you look at your other competition and see what they're doing? Is there another agency next to you that you have been watching? Have they been doing anything that's different? Maybe they have a very similar like clientele. What is making them stand out as opposed to you? With that, how do you separate the brand versus the person? LinkedIn seems to be coming more like Facebook. I would agree with that. It really depends on the agency that you are in. Are you capable of making yourself the face of the agency? Because if you were to have a Facebook page that has, let's say it's called Lawrence Agency, and the logo in the profile is the Lawrence Agency logo, and then the cover of the Facebook page is the Lawrence Agency cover. Is there a way through those brands for you to establish yourself and say, hi, I am Jess, I am sort of the face of this brand, and marry the two? That would be my recommendation. Or if it could be like a situation where it is branded as Lawrence Agency, and maybe your profile photo is a picture of you with a little bit of the logo in the corner. There's a way to kind of mold it all together. But I wouldn't necessarily entirely separate them. And as I'm talking about all this, it might get a little bit concerning about like how much time is all this stuff going to take. These days, it is a bit of a situation where you might need to consider extra help outside of what you're capable of doing. You guys are really busy. You guys have so much to do. 40 hours a week already taken up by client stuff. Where are you going to find the time to do all of the marketing? So consider the idea that you might need to export all of that help to somebody else. And the last thing I want to mention before we get into everything is that you don't want to forget about your current clients. With health insurance, while it is extremely important to be online, it's extremely important to do all of these things in order to gain attention and try to recruit people from outside using organic traffic. Your current clients are also a massive base for how you're going to get more clients. Those referrals are what runs businesses still to this day. That has not changed. So how can you nurture your current client base as well and encourage them to send over referrals or do what you can with that as well? So with all that in mind, let's talk about our first level up. We've leveled up. Congratulations, everybody. We have one heart. We're pretty frail at this point, but it's a start. So we are at level 1 with our marketing. So this is for all of you who have done absolutely nothing. Maybe you're a new agency. Maybe you've been busy from the get-go and you're 2 years in and you have nothing to show for it. Maybe it's a logo. Maybe it's a small little something or another that you don't actually like, but it's what you have, so you have to use it. You're level 1. So these are the things that you need to do in order to master level 1 of your marketing strategy. The first is to nail down your brand identity kit. This is before anything else that you do with your marketing. You need a brand identity kit. You need an updated logo, consistent fonts, consistent colors. This part has not changed over the last several years that I've been doing these webinars. That's what you need, is brand consistency. They need to be able to see a logo and say, oh, that is absolutely this person. Just think of, I always think of, what's his name from, see, I'm saying that I remember him, but it's escaping my mind. The 444 guy, Blake Maislin. See, I did the thing and then it reminded me what his name is. I think of Blake Maislin with this stuff. He has a very consistent brand. He kind of stole the Bengals brand, which is kind of funny, but it works. I remember who this guy is, and I know that he's a personal injury lawyer. That is an established brand. He knew exactly what he was doing with that. I wouldn't recommend going that route. I think he spends probably a little bit too much money on his marketing, but it worked for him. So I would just make sure that you have the consistent logo, you have your business cards, that everything looks nice, everything looks tailored. And this is something that you should probably hand out to a freelancer or to an agency that can help you out. It is really difficult to make a logo by yourself. And there's plenty of tools out there if you want to try Canva or, any other kind of design software that kind of walks you through it on your own. You can absolutely try it. And there are people who have gotten a lot of great success from doing that. However, to get that consistent color palette, to also have all of the logo versions that you're going to need for the next 10 years while you have that logo, just to hire out that different help. If you hire a designer, they know exactly what to look for. They know what the trends are in design these days. They know how to marry your brand with your story. And it's also going to help you get your voice for your brand. You're going to be able to start thinking of, okay, so when I'm communicating Lawrence Agency, what do I want people to know about us just from looking at our logo, just from looking at a flyer that we've created? All that comes from your brand identity kit. It is the basis for everything else that you are going to do in your marketing moving forward. So step 1, brand identity kit. If you don't have one today, you can't do the rest of this. You need to do that first, and then you can move forward. That's how I'm going to say most of this leveling up stuff goes, one at a time. If you try to go into level 2 and you don't have everything figured out for level 1, you are not ready for level 2. So this is level 1. So the next part, after you do have your brand identity kit, you've got your logo, you got your fonts, and you are consistently using them, everything looks nice. It's time to establish your website and your social media. Website is a given these days. There's no way you can do business without a website at this point. It's easier on your clients. It's easier on your prospects. It's just the way to go. And with social media, it's kind of the same thing. Now at level 1, you are not expected to have 1 billion followers. You're not expected to have 4 followers. At level 1, you're expected to establish a presence, to create a LinkedIn profile, to create your Facebook profile. So what we were talking about before with the last question that I received, that's more of like level 2 type stuff. How do you separate your brand from your actual person? That's more level 2. Level 1 is just get your profiles. And I've gotten a lot of questions over the years of which profiles are most appropriate for me and my business. It really depends. If you are employee benefits, both Facebook and LinkedIn can be valuable for you. Mostly focus on your LinkedIn. If you are individual and family, Facebook is going to be the number 1 that I would put some focus on for right now. LinkedIn, not really. I wouldn't even make a LinkedIn profile if you don't do any employee benefits business, unless it's to network with other people in the industry. And I would also, now everybody brace yourselves, because some of you might not like this. I would also think about the possibility of doing Instagram, TikTok, YouTube. I know. I feel similarly. I have to do a lot of social media on my own, and I don't use TikTok for myself. I understand. I get it. However, they are extremely important these days. Just consider it. If you're going to do nothing else, Facebook, LinkedIn, depending on where you're at. Let's say you are employee benefits and individual, do them both, Facebook and LinkedIn. Employee benefits, Facebook and LinkedIn. Individual and family, Facebook. Medicare kind of follows that same thing, definitely Facebook though. Facebook ads do really, really well with the Medicare population. Next up, after you've got, sorry, I just totally skipped over the website thing. Website, again, keep it simple. You can have a home page, an about page, contact page, and that's it. You can also have all of that on one singular page of your website. Have your call to action at the top, have some information about who you are and what your history with this agency is, some information about what services you offer, and then a way for people to get in contact with you. Some kind of form, something. Phone number, I would definitely do a form though. Doing a form is much more likely to gain traffic than having everybody call you. I'm personally much more likely to fill out a form than I am to actually pick up the phone and call. I'm a millennial, if that makes any sense for any of you. Just going to double check my questions here. So if you do not already have a website, there are a couple different opportunities for you online. Some of them are super easy these days. I would say that you could probably put together your own basic website all by yourself. My biggest recommendation is Squarespace, squarespace.com, which I can actually put into the chat right now, just in case you haven't heard about it. Send that over for everybody, squarespace.com. And it is literally a drag and drop tool. So you can drag photos, you can drag text, you can do all of that stuff. It's super user friendly, highly recommend. You can manage your domain through there. If you wanted to create a blog, you can create a blog. It's great for first-time users. So definitely check that out if you do not already have a website, if you need to refresh your website, maybe it's kind of old and you need to do something about it. It's another thing that you can also outsource to other people if you are just swamped. There is no way that you're doing this. We recommend Cincinnati Web Tech. Our friends Chris and Corey from Cincinnati Web Tech, they do an amazing job. Obviously, they've worked with a lot of health insurance brokers. They know what you need. They take care of everything for you. You give them some content, let them know like, hey, I wanted to talk about this. Here's some of the writing that I did for it. Can you put it like this? They'll do it all for you. And they'll also manage your security. They'll manage any kind of updates that need to happen with your website. They're amazing. I highly recommend them. Ooh, this is a great question. What is the average cost of a full website build? I mean, it really depends. If you are going to outsource that information or that work to somebody else, like a Cincinnati Web Tech, it is going to cost you a pretty penny. If you're going to do something on Squarespace, it could be like a $200 a year to maintain your Squarespace page and your domain on their site. So it depends how much work you are willing to put in on your own. We have one which is through Wix and is in desperate need of a facelift. Yeah, I would highly recommend going the Squarespace route if you can. Squarespace is something that can you can transfer your domain over super easily from Wix. Highly recommend. You're able to drag and drop everything. There are even tutorials out there that you can do if you're not willing to spend the extra capital that it would take to have somebody else build out your website. If you are, then absolutely, I would say Cincinnati Web Tech is your way to go. Email, do we drop our Gmail account for an email with a domain name? Now this is interesting because maybe I would recommend either having a Gmail, specifically a Gmail, or an email with your specific domain name. If you already have one, you might as well have your email with that domain name. It's easier to remember. It's better for your brand, things like that. If you do not already have a domain or that process is too difficult, a Gmail account is the way to go. The reason I say Gmail is because it's the most accessible for a majority of people out there. A majority of people out there use Google. Obviously that people use Yahoo. My dad uses Zoomtown. I know. But Gmail is also going to be the thing that integrates best with other domains. So I would recommend either your Gmail account or an email with the domain name. Best case scenario is with your domain name. Good question, though. That's a really good question. So yeah, the cost of building a website is going to depend on the capital that you're willing to spend. You can spend a Saturday afternoon and knock it out by yourself on Squarespace, though. If you're just getting started and you just need something out there and you kind of have an idea of what you want. There are also people out there that you can do freelance work, ask for freelance work, who can put it together in a day. So it's really up to you, but the costs are gonna differ based on how much you're willing to spend. All right, next, after you have your brand identity kit, you've got your email or your website and your social media set up. Next thing is to establish an email list. Now, you don't necessarily have to do like a newsletter. You need to have an email list, though. You need to have your clients' email so that you can communicate with them consistently. If there is news in the industry, let's take, for example, all this news about short-term plans changing. That's good information for your clients to know if they have short-term plans, or even if their husband is aging into Medicare, they're going to need a short-term plan for themselves in the interim, something like that. This is good information for them to know. Having an email list is going to be your easiest way to get that information out very quickly and consistently, and establish yourself as I said, the expert and also very reliable. You've got your thumb on the pulse of the industry, and you're able to communicate it with your clients quickly. Like I said, you do not need a newsletter at level 1. You absolutely do not. You need to start grabbing some emails and find some sort of email provider. My recommendation is always iContact, which I can drop in the chat again, iContact.com. If you guys have been on my Build Your Brand webinars in the past, we've had my friend Hank Hoffmeyer on, who's from iContact, who talks a lot about email marketing and everything. iContact is the way to go. I believe under 500 emails, it is free. So great option for those of you who have a small email list and you just want to send those one-off emails, like I was talking about, to keep your clients informed. And then last but not least, just making sure I'm hitting all my notes here. Last but not least is any kind of grassroots marketing that you can do. If you are literally just starting off in this industry, let's say your agency is 1 month old, grassroots marketing is still a great way to get involved. Get involved in your community, start putting your name out there as much as you can, even if it's just putting a little bit of an ad in a menu for a local cafe or something. That grassroots marketing, getting yourself into those situations where you're at events, where your face is in front of everybody, that stuff is still really important. Now, that's not going to grow you to massive amounts of clients, but it's going to help you get started. And it's going to be sort of an exponential growth situation where you're able to get one client here, one client there, and then the referrals start happening and then start building from there. But you do have to put in the work to actually let people know who you are, what it is that you do, and why you do it better than the person next to you. That stuff does still apply. If you're doing all these trade shows, or you're doing, we just recently went to the local 12 Health and Retirement Expo. Great way to put your name out there. So we've got all this. We've got your brand, you're looking good, you're feeling good because you got your website done, you got your social media done, nothing's happening, you're not getting any traffic, but you got it, and you can optimize it whenever you have some time. You're getting an email list established, so you have a process for when you get a new client. You ask them for their email, ask them for permission to email. That's a big one, especially if any of you do Medicare. Just make sure you're getting permission. And you started putting your name out there. You put your boots to the ground, and you started putting your face in places in the areas in which that you would like to find some clientele. Level 1, we can now level up. Congratulations to everybody on your level up. How exciting. We now have 2 hearts. We're a little bit less fragile than we were before, and how exciting is that? But like I said, we are at level 2. So what's in level 2? Well, we're going to basically take it all and we're going to be a little bit more intense with it. So like I said, we have our brand, we have our logo, we have our website. Now comes the fun stuff. Now we start worrying about, okay, but is our website like good? Is our social media interesting? This is when you start thinking about all that different stuff. First step is optimizing your search, doing search engine optimization, because this is free. And that's everybody's favorite word when it comes to marketing. Marketing is very expensive. Search optimization is extremely free. You can do it through your Squarespace. If you do work with a website builder, a website developer, they are often on the ball with search engine optimization. What are some things that you can do to improve your search engine optimization? I'm just going to say SEO. SEO. And I'd like to hear what you guys are doing. If any of you are focusing on SEO, I'd like to hear what some of you guys are doing in the question box. So let me know. So one of the first things that you can do to optimize your search, your SEO, is to improve the content that is actually already on your site. So when we go to, let's take, for example, the Cornerstone website, crnstone.com, one of the things that we were very careful to do is make sure that these headings right here and this subheading right here, this text down here has keywords in it. And the keywords are going to be established based on popularity online. You can all probably guess that one of those keywords is going to be health insurance. And you can also probably guess that these keywords are quite competitive. But this is, like I said, level 2 stuff. This is just baseline. How can we make things, how can we take things to the next level, at least just a little bit? So the first thing I would say is by optimizing all of your text on your website to include keywords. Now for Cornerstone, it's going to be a little bit different because we're not necessarily marketing health insurance. We're marketing to you guys. We're marketing to the brokers. So my keywords that I definitely wanted to include was brokers, build your business, group, individual, ancillary health insurance products, vendors, carriers, things like that. A bunch of different text that Google is just going to read top to bottom, and it's going to help them place you based on somebody's search. And it's going to base you on that hierarchy that you see when you search for something. So usually when you search for like health insurance, maybe the first thing that pops up is like an ad for United Healthcare. You have to get past all that noise and be the first person at the top. So if you are specifically in Lima, for example, you want to be one of the first people that pops up when somebody says health insurance agencies in Lima, Ohio. You want to be the first one of the first people to pop up there. And you can do that for free by using these keywords. So like I said, if you're a health insurance agency in Lima, maybe you put, in the header text, which is going to be the most important text where you need to put your keywords, maybe you put like health insurance for families and individuals. And then maybe in this text down here, you put based in Lima, Ohio, Lawrence agency, so-and-so, blah, 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 blah. You're including all of those keywords and you're making it specific to the kind of clientele that you're looking for. Those are just small ways to do search engine optimization. That's a great start. Another great start is to ask for Google reviews. Google reviews are intensely important when it comes to search engine optimization, because the more Google reviews that you have, the more that Google recognizes you as a legitimate business, as a legitimate website, and knocks you up in the rankings. In order to ask for those, you do need a Google My Business account, which is very easy. It is free. I believe that they have to verify that you are a business, but otherwise, very easy to do. So you just go to Google My Business on Google. I can't remember the process. I did it many, many years ago, but super simple. If you already have a website, make sure that you do that for it. But getting those 5-star reviews from your current clients is really going to help improve your search engine optimization and in turn help improve your paid advertising that you might do online later. We have a little friend. Sorry, I should have kept my shades closed. I wonder if he cares about health insurance marketing. Probably not, huh? Next, for level two, you want to dive more into your social media. So you already have your presence out there, you have your account. Now let's try to focus on one. So if you want to maybe focus on your Facebook and really make it nice, like really go all out with your Facebook, dive into that in level two. Figure out how you can establish community. Figure out a nice process for yourself for when you are posting. And typically what I do when I'm posting for Cornerstone is I come up with sort of a template for what I typically post. So if you've noticed, every other Monday we do like a Cornerstone motivational quote. I do that every other Monday, and it's easy for me to remember, oh, I think this guy really does. I think this guy wants to learn. Sorry, I'm very easily distracted. But yeah, so you want to establish your community on social media at this point. I would create those templates to make it easier on you to kind of automate the process. I would post anything that you can about like working in your community. If you went to any events, all of that grassroots stuff that you do, put that on social media. Really put a personality to your brand, like we were talking about before. There is a way to separate the brand from the personality, but it is really helpful to put your face in front of people and say, hi, I am this real human person that is going to help you with your health insurance. Way easier to work with than if you look at a brand and it's just the agency. They assume that they're going to go to a 1-800 number and they're going to be on a robocall. If they see you as the face of your agency, they think that when they pick up the phone, they're going to talk to you. They're going to talk to Jess Larkin. It just makes it more personal, and it makes people more likely to engage with your content, especially with your current clients. I want to stress throughout this presentation that your current clients are a massive help when it comes to this stuff. So get them to follow your social media. They're going to be excited to see their agent on their social media doing all these fun things, and they're going to encourage it. They might share it, things like that. So that's how you start diving into social media. Eventually you start getting into the trends. How can you make this trend work for you? You know, with YouTube shorts or Instagram reels, TikToks, they always have those little sound bits in the back. Those are so easy to incorporate into your own brand. Just think of the jokes that you would make for health insurance and use them for that. Now, actually creating that stuff does take a little bit more than just do it. And I'm happy to provide a webinar on more of the intricacies of actually making that happen. Obviously, this is kind of an overview of leveling up. So if you want more diving into social media, if you are at that point in level 2, let me know. I'm not certain about the need for that right now. So let me know in the chat or in the survey following this webinar if that is something that appeals to you. And I can do more of a deep dive on trends and how to create a reel, how to do all these things. So just let me know. I do need to keep it moving though, because it's already 10:40 because I'm a chit chatter. Next is client onboarding and welcome. Like I said, we do not want to discount our current clients. Our current clients are our bread and butter. They're the reasons that we got to where we are today. So how can, when we onboard them, when we actually say, hi, welcome to the Lawrence Insurance Agency family, how can we say welcome in the best way possible? I think personally, it is by creating a client onboarding kit that shows them everything they need to know about their health insurance, who they need to communicate with, what their insurance actually means, and so on and so forth. There's actually a template on the Cornerstone Marketing Hub for those of you who might have Resource Center access on our website. If you don't, if you are a contracted Cornerstone broker, just go online and I can approve you. On the Marketing Hub, we have a client welcome packet template. You just need a Canva account, which is free, to access this and use it for yourself. And it has sort of a baseline for what this means for you. So it has the table of contents to help your clients figure out, obviously which page, everybody knows how that works. More information about your agency, who you are, maybe your background and your bio, how they can follow you on social media, maybe a timeline for the services that they're going to receive. So when they should expect to hear from you throughout the year to learn more about their health insurance or about changing a plan, what they should do if they go through a special event. And then maybe like a checklist for them of, okay, well, now you have your health insurance. Here are some things to keep in mind. So the first thing maybe would be to set up your account with your carrier. Or if you work in employee benefits, maybe it's to distribute and collect employee benefit election forms from your employees. Things like that. Create a checklist so that once they are given the packet, they can say, oh, this is what I had to do, check, check, check. This makes more sense. And then any information that they could possibly need. If there's a carrier representative that they need to know about, if you have like an administrative staff that they need the number for, and who to contact directly for each thing. Have all of that information in the onboarding packet. It's going to make a huge, really valuable first impression on your clients that I think is absolutely worth the time and the effort. So we've got a couple of questions. Really like a webinar specific on social media. Okay, got it. Great. Nice. I love that. I'm excited about that one, actually. Perfect. Yeah, we have various emails, a welcome box, and collateral. This is nice to have it all in one area. Yes, 100%. Just a nice packet that you can email them over and say, welcome to the family. Here's everything that you could possibly need to know. I'll keep in touch with you throughout the year, but if you have any questions, you know exactly where to go. Highly recommend doing something like that. Next up, I would do a monthly newsletter. Like I said, not really necessary when you're just collecting emails. It's an extra thing that you need to do. But at this point, if you're trying to level up, again, this is specifically towards your current clients. Keep them in the know, keep them interested, remind them that you are around. Because most of the time, your clients don't really need to think about their health insurance until they have a claim or until they want to change it. Make sure you're staying out in front of them. Make sure you're requesting referrals through those monthly newsletters, maybe doing a bit of a contest. You know, if you follow the Cornerstone Monday Minute, we do a caption contest. But people really like caption contests. So I would try something out like that as well. But a monthly newsletter is a great way to stay in contact with those clients. And just so you know, that marketing hub that I talked about over here on the Cornerstone Resource Center has all kinds of stuff. It has more than just the client welcome packet. It's also got a presentation for employee benefits, some postcards, some flyers, analytics report, which I'll talk about in a second, social media counter, and it has all kinds of stuff. So check it out if you are somebody that has to do your own in-house marketing. Hopefully this stuff is helpful for you. Oh, okay. Somebody's coming in hot with some good information. 30% off of annual plans for Squarespace with a discount code that I am going to put in the chat. Thank you so much, Jimmy. That is incredible. He said he did his website recently on Squarespace. Took a little over a week at about 5 hours a day. And my first year's cost is $13 a month paid annually, and then $16 a month for the basic plan with the domain name. And he has the professional email, plus you can get free professional email by turning Gmail into a professional email. Yes, and it's super easy to do that on Squarespace. Let me put this in the chat. So if you guys are wanting to do a Squarespace site, this is a discount code that Jimmy is saying he used, 30% off. So thank you so much for sharing that. That's awesome. That's amazing. I actually have to redo my portfolio site for just my stuff that I do on the side. So that's very helpful for me, to be honest. Okay, moving forward. So now we have all of this stuff. We're kind of getting more into the weeds. We're focusing on our website. We have more time to do so. Diving into social media, kind of get an idea of like what it is that we want to do, learning about trends, and then building from there. It's trial and error for social media, let me tell you, and especially since it changes every day. I see a new trend. It's just a matter of keeping up with it. And like I said, I will do a separate webinar about that later this year. And then client onboarding, making sure that they are communicated with throughout the year. We can level up again. We've got more resources now. We're getting closer to defeating the big boss at the end. You guys can't tell, I've been playing a lot of video games lately, so this is very fun for me. We are now at level 3. So what is at level 3? Level 3 is going to be where we start using those digital advertising tools, the analytics, the automation, the things that are really getting into the weeds. And this stuff is very complicated, so we're going to keep it kind of high level for right now. Digital advertising. The two places that I would focus on for digital advertising are Google ads and Facebook ads. Those are your biggest things. Facebook ads, particularly if you have Medicare business, but it also works for individual and family as well. Google ads and Facebook ads are going to be more successful for you if you have an established website presence with some search engine optimization included. Keep that in mind. It's also going to be far more successful if you continue those ads for a long period of time, for an extended period of time. I'm talking create a campaign that is going to last a year. You're putting in $500 a month for a year. And you have to change out the wording, you have to change out the ads, things like that throughout the year. But maintaining those keywords and keeping yourself in that presence and keeping yourself in Google's little auction is going to be very, very important. So don't try it out for 1 month and then quit because you're not getting what you need. This is long-term strategy that we're talking about right here. And that's going to be for most things. Your website's not automatically going to get a bunch of traffic. Your social media is not automatically going to get a bunch of people. It could take a year. It could take 2 years. These are long-term sustainable strategies that you're looking for. More specific, like I need clients right now, that's where the grassroots marketing comes in. That's where the referrals come in from your clients. This is to get steady streams of client recruitment. What about employee benefits? We've done print ads and some digital, but response was so low, we decided to take a break to reevaluate. Yeah. Employee benefits, really any line of business. To be honest with you, print ads are tough. I've had a couple of webinars with my friend Steve Kapuscinski from Allegra, who talks about the customer journey. And basically, he talks about the fact that there are 7 different touch points that are required for somebody to take any kind of action on your ad. That makes print ads very frustrating. If you're just going to send out that postcard, nothing's going to happen. You need to have a postcard that is attached to a webinar, maybe with some sort of call to action, and then an email to that same list, the same people, multiple touch points for those people to look at it. If it's just a postcard, they receive it in the mail and they think, oh, they toss it. And that's the unfortunate part. But if they see a postcard and they think, and they toss it, and then they see online that they received an ad that has been targeted to them by Facebook, and it's the same thing, they think, oh, okay, I saw that a couple days ago. Okay, I saw it again on this person's website. It starts to click in their brain. One-time strategies like that, where you're just doing one print ad and one digital, don't really work. We tend to pair our digital advertising, our Google ads, with a webinar. You know, we have our webinar series. So if we have a Google ad, we're going to say in the ad, sign up for our next webinar, sign up for our webinar series, check out our upcoming webinars, things like that, is attached to something else. There is some sort of call to action to keep them from just looking at a postcard and putting it away. If it's a brand awareness postcard, it still needs something. Because most of those are going to get tossed, most of those are going to be forgotten. It's tough. It's definitely a mixed bag. But I would highly recommend that you look at my most recent Build Your Brand webinar. This is from 2023 because we're not doing Build Your Brand this year. I would recommend that you look at that on the Cornerstone Resource Center, and it's going to have some more information about the customer journey, those multiple touch points, and exactly how that can work for you. So that's on the webinar series page at the Resource Center. Highly recommend doing that. Geofencing. No, I don't think it's worth it. Geofencing is when you take a specific area and you target digital ads to that specific area. I have tried geofencing multiple times. I've tried IP targeting multiple times with very limited success, especially moving forward. Oh yeah, I just got another comment. Geofencing never worked for me and it's so expensive. Totally agree. I would just say no. Focus on the basics. This is something that I think gets a lot lost with a lot of brokers. Keep it simple. Keep it absolutely simple. Focus on the things that we can do really quickly. We can make a lot of them, and we can send them out to a ton of people, like a postcard. Postcard itself is not great. If you could put a postcard with a landing page where you have a webinar or they can schedule a meeting, that's where you go. You don't have to get into the fancy geofencing. I really don't recommend doing paid lists. I don't think that they do anything either. They can be dangerous for your domain if you email to them. That kind of stuff, I don't recommend. Now, that being said, everybody has their own clientele. Everybody has their own experience with people that they're marketing to. If you try it and it works really well, then it just works really well for you. And that's okay. And you can continue putting money towards that. But anecdotal evidence, my experience, and I guess I've seen it a lot online as well, different data that is associated with these kind of strategies, not typically worth it. Great question, though. And it's something that I wanted to hit on. So we got our digital advertising and then analytics, tracking your analytics through Google Analytics, or if you have like a HubSpot or something. HubSpot is free. There are a couple options on there that are free if you want to connect your website to it to keep your analytics in check or do any kind of automation. Checking what kind of emails are getting opened, which page has the most views on your website, what content gets the most views on social media. If you do webinars for your clients, what webinars have the most traffic? If you do advertising, what kind of impressions am I getting versus how many actual calls or emails, form submissions I'm getting? All of that is extremely valuable information. However, it means zilch if you don't do something with it. So if you're going to start tracking your analytics, if you're going to do a report every month that you can see everything that's going on, just make sure that you're taking the appropriate action on those analytics, or else they're not really doing anything for you. It's very easy to get stuck in your strategy and never change anything because it's easiest and because we're busy. But if you're tracking your analytics and the proof is in the pudding that this thing is not working, but this thing definitely is, you got to change up your strategy. It is going to be consistent. At this point, if you are at this point, I would recommend hiring somebody on your team to be focusing entirely on marketing, because this is where it gets complicated, especially the digital advertising. If you're doing Google ads, it does take a lot of upkeep in order for you to be really, really maximizing your potential with that. I do have a recommendation for a company that does a very good job with Google advertising. They're called Walter 814. I believe they're based in Cincinnati. They might be based out somewhere else in Ohio, though. Excellent group of people. It's a small business. It's a husband and wife duo. They've got a couple people on their team now, and they handle all of the advertising for one of our sectors. So highly, highly recommend Google advertising, I should say. And they are just on the ball. We receive a report every single month. It's amazing. So highly recommend if you're at that space. Being a one-man marketing band, I have a tough time getting buy-in on the importance of this stuff from leadership. Goodness, do I understand that? Do you have any suggestions on how to navigate that conversation? That is such, that one hit. That one hit my heart. Yes, I would come with receipts. Market data from people that are in similar situations to you, and they could be in similar situations to you in Nebraska. They could be wherever. And with market data that suggests that other people are going to be doing this stuff and that you are falling behind by not doing it. It is very easy for them to just look at the dollar amount and say, that's not worth it. But if they see the actual outcome of what is being generated from these strategies, it's easier for them to calculate. That's a lot of impressions based on the amount of revenue that we took in. You know, this is how much I can expect to actually lose from this versus how much I'm going to make. Come with that real data, come supported by information from other places where they're doing exactly the same thing, working with the exact same clientele. ROI over 12 months is not over 12 months, not 1 month. Yeah. I think I understand what you're saying. It's not one of the biggest things that I wanted to talk about with this, and we'll talk about automations in a second, is the stuff that you absolutely should not do. And one of those things is going to be, oh, I didn't actually put it on there. I thought I did. One of those things is stopping your processes after only 1 month, after only 6 months, looking at data from a small period of time and saying, oh, it's not working. This is long-term stuff, guys. This is not 1 year. We're establishing a presence for all time. So just keep that in mind, that this is stuff that is going to take a long time to see that ROI. So that's a very good point. I think I understand what you were saying with that, but I would agree. I am running. Okay. I'm going to kind of quickly go through. I will have all of this presentation is recorded, so if you guys have to hop off, that's totally fine. I'm going to keep moving on and talking about this stuff, and then if you need to catch it in the recording, that's totally fine. But I think this stuff is important to talk about as well. So sorry, I'm a little chatty. I should have made this an hour and a half. So digital advertising, looking at your analytics, using those analytics if you are somebody that needs to talk to the people in charge, using those analytics as sort of a reason why you should move on to a specific type of marketing. And then automations. Automations are going to make your life and your client's life a lot easier. We're talking about automations with like emails. So if, for example, you want to automate the client onboarding process, where if they fill out a form to say, hi, I am now a client, and you can automate an email to go out and say, welcome to the team. That makes your life a lot easier. You don't have to create that email for yourself every single time. Putting those automations in place not only helps with saving time, it also helps to ensure that each of your clients or each of your prospects goes through a consistent process and has the same amount of attention, which is huge. You don't want to have one person receive all these beautiful emails saying welcome, and then you get into OEP and you're stressed and there's too much going on, and these two clients who are giving you their business for the first time do not get that same welcome, do not get that same information that everybody else did. Automations like with email or form submissions, things that you could do on HubSpot, or eye contact offers automations as well. I think Squarespace might, in their own way. Anything that's going to give a little bit more consistency to your clients and to your prospects is going to make a very big difference. Again, that's pretty high level stuff. This is like right before the boss fight, and when you start doing your automations. Of course, you as salespeople, you have sales automations as well. Marketing automations are just as important. So that's level 3. Level 4, I think you are crowned king. You've saved the princess. You've done the thing. Quickly, I did want to go through things that you absolutely should not do. So I'll go through this very quickly. These are your game over situations. First is your paid list. Now, does it work for other people? Yeah, there are some people who have figured out how to make this work for their agency. Do I think it's worth the amount of money that it takes? No, I don't think so. I think it's more worth your time to put in that money towards a booth at a trade show, or towards an ad in the menu, or in a playbill at your granddaughter's play, something like that. I think it's way more worth your time and your effort to do something like that than it is to pay for a list of people that may or may not even exist anymore. A lot of those ads are not up to date, or a lot of those lists are not up to date. They have people in there that have defunct emails or are no longer with us. They're just not very clean. And in addition, if you're emailing to these paid lists, even if you use an email provider that allows you to email to paid lists, it is very dangerous for your website domain. Your website domain could get complaints against it, and then you could lose that domain. You might have to entirely have a new website, a new domain. I got a preach, been there, done that, got the t-shirt. Nice. Do not recommend, like I said, yeah, it does work for other people. It's not going to work for everybody. It's not even going to work for a majority of you. Highly recommend moving away and trying to get more creative on that side than just going for the easy route on this. It's easy. I understand. I understand how intriguing that must be. It's not the way to go. You're just throwing money away, in my opinion, in my very specific opinion. But I've been doing specifically health insurance marketing for 8 years now, and I've not had much, if any, success with paid lists. Not conducting any market research. I know some of you are talking about your clients and think, well, my clients have always been like this. My clients have always done that. Probably. That information is very good to know. You know your clients better than anybody. Market research doesn't lie, though. Market research is going to tell you what those prospects are looking for, what your recruits are looking for. You might be narrowing your scope of people that you are talking to by assuming that your clients only are this specific way. So be very careful with the assumptions that you're making about the clientele that you take on, because you could be narrowing your scope. You could be making it more difficult for yourself to actually reach a wider audience. Next is branding consistency. Like I said, if you have like 3 different logos and you're using all of them, be very careful. Just find one consistent logo, make it clean, make it look really nice, because even a brand packet that is just really clean makes you look really good. That's all you really need. If you want to go the extra routes and you do the rest of the stuff with getting into social media and everything, the brand is the face. It's the first impression that people see. It's going to, in these days, make you look professional, or it's going to make you look old-fashioned. Brand consistency is extremely important these days. You don't want to look old-fashioned. Ignoring your current clients, like I said, your clients have a lot of needs as well. You don't want to just say, they never need anything on a yearly basis, so I just kind of do their renewal and it's fine. Maybe, but they also might be really valuable for referrals. It's always good to show that there are other options for them. Maybe you come across something that you think would be more valuable for them. Just don't ignore those current clients just because they are easy to maintain. Not understanding consumer behavior, that kind of goes back with not conducting market research. Consumer behavior these days, as much as I've been resistant to it and how much other people have been resistant to it, consumer behavior occurs online. It's all online. And that's where everybody needs to start putting their heads, is on this online strategy. How often do you recommend a brand refresh for templates, documents, social media? And then how often do you recommend to do a full-scale rebrand? This is a great question. Brand refresh, I think it depends on what you're talking about. So as far as like full brand, logo, colors, I think you got about 5 to 10 years with your brand. If it's professionally done, if you have it done by somebody who knows how to do design, who has put those materials at work, who has worked with you and understands your business and has put this together, you got about 5 to 10 years with your brand. A refresh is necessary way more often though. A refresh of, photos on your website, your content on your website, changing how your social media looks a little bit. I'd say yearly basis. Make sure that you're keeping things fresh. More often would be great. Obviously, you want to stick with those same colors, those same fonts. You want to stick with those same things unless you're willing to do a full brand refresh. But making things stick out and not get stale is going to take a little bit more. So with the Cornerstone brand, we just recently had our brand redone, I think not last year, but the year before, I believe. And since then, we have done quite a bit of iterations, but off of the same brand. It's the same colors, but I've added gradients, or I've added a different kind of font to cut things up a little bit, changed it just a little bit, but you still recognize it as Cornerstone. But the full-scale rebrand, I think I would stick closer to the 5 years, but 5 to 10 years should be fine. And then the last thing, good question. What's considered a big client base for health insurance? Like 300? Just curious. I've worked with agencies that have 2 clients because they're just starting out and they've been stuck with that for a while. I've had agencies that have 20 clients and have worked like that for many, many years as retired people, and they just have consistent money coming through. And then obviously you have larger agencies that are able to handle a larger block of business. I would say that a client list of like 800 would require a larger team of like 5 to 6 agents to really give them what they need. I guess this is talking specifically employee benefits, just because there's a lot of stuff that goes into that. If you're individual and family, a lot of it can be done on Health Sherpa, or a lot of it can be done on healthcare.gov. So you might be able to stick with more clients. As far as Medicare goes, I would assume some of you Medicare people, if you could comment, I would assume probably getting less and less by the year on how much you are capable of handling based on how much extra work you have to do to stay compliant with recordings and getting consent to contact. I would assume that it's less and less every year. So I would say for individual health insurance brokers, if it's one person, they probably have a larger client base than the employee benefits ones, and Medicare, I'm not 100% sure. And then the last thing is not asking for online reviews. Like I said, that's extremely important for SEO. So it's something that you want to encourage your current clients to do, to let people know how important your agency has been to them, how much help you've given them, things like that. Never settle for no client reviews. I know it can be uncomfortable. I know it can be uncomfortable to ask people to talk about your service and to, especially if you've not done it before, if you've been in this business for a long time, and then suddenly you're sending them messages and saying, praise me, I need to look good online. But I promise it's absolutely worth it. It is going to get your name out there. It's going to improve your rankings on Google if that's important to you. And it's going to help people find you. I will say that if I'm looking for a business to work with, their Google reviews matter to me. If they have a lot of them or if they have few of them, it is going to make a difference with whether or not people want to engage with you. We've had problems when we write using Health Sherpa. Other agents have stolen the client without the client knowing about it. I've reported this. How are other agents handling this? I've heard about this. I would encourage you to reach out to Jeff or Brad, Jeff Begwin or Brad Petrella. They are individual broker advisors here at Cornerstone. And I can send their information. But I have also heard of this as well. And I do know that they've had a response to it in the past. I just don't know what it is. So reach out to one of them or to both of them, and they will be able to talk you through that. But you are not alone in that, I know. Can you have a Google business page if you're a sole proprietor, as in no EIN or anything? Because I'm just an individual, don't have an agency or anything. It's just me running the shop through my SSN. I believe so, yes. Honestly, I think that the only real requirement is, I don't even think you need a website in order to have a Google My Business page. You need to be an established business, but if you're running the shop through your SSN, it shouldn't be a problem. I would double check on that, but I wouldn't think that that's a problem. There's plenty of sole proprietors out there. I don't think they ask for an EIN is basically what I'm getting at. Okay, I'm going to stay on for a little bit. I'm at that point where I'm now ready for additional questions. So if you have any, just leave them in the chat and we'll go through one by one. Awesome. Yes, please do connect with me on LinkedIn if you'd like. I'd be happy to connect with you. Can chat more about marketing. Again, I'll put my information up here on the screen. If any of you want to get in contact with me and talk specifically about what you're doing, if you have any questions, go ahead and reach out to me. I'm happy to help. There are limits to the amount that I'm allowed to do for brokers. So in the past, I've been able to help with websites and flyers and stuff. And now it's kind of like a per project basis. It's never a complete no if you need help with that stuff, but It's always something I had to ask my manager about first. But any kind of consultation, those are totally available. So feel free to give me a call. Oh, we got one more question from someone here. I'll wait for you. Thank you guys so much for joining. And let me know what you think of this format. I'll have a survey at the end of the presentation when you close out. Let me know how you think about this. And if you want to see more stuff kind of like this, a little bit more casual. As a broker, do you have any suggestions for compliance language? Are you Medicare? Are you individual? What kind of compliance are we thinking? I mean, even employee benefits has its own compliance language that has for Section 125. Oh, got it. Recommendations for compliance language. A lot of it is boilerplate stuff, especially in individual health insurance. CMS recently started requiring this consent to contacts from individual agents, or from individual clients for individual agents to contact them. And they just have a boilerplate form that you can work off of. Medicare is a different boat entirely. We work with Cornerstone Senior Marketing. They used to be a part of Cornerstone proper, and they recently joined Integrity. Recently, I guess it's been a couple years now. But they typically answer all of my Medicare questions because there are many of them. And Medicare is going to be more complicated because some carriers, some of them require a lot more than others. Some of them have specific ways that they like to talk about things while others don't. Some of them contradict each other. And then you have CMS and whatever they want to do. I would highly recommend having an upline for that information. Of course, Senior Marketing is obviously going to be the ones that I recommend the most if you do not already work with them, because they're going to help you make sense of all that information. Again, there is like boilerplate language that you can usually find on the CMS website or by looking at larger agencies and looking on their website, seeing what their stuff is doing. But I will say it's getting to be far more complicated than it ever used to be, where a lot more stuff has to be submitted to CMS or to your Part D sponsor or whoever. So highly recommend an upline for that, or to speak with an expert in compliance specifically for Medicare, because it's a doozy, especially considering that you have to record your calls and all the information that's associated with that. I don't feel comfortable myself giving too much information about that. Definitely talk with an upline. And then employee benefits, again, it's all going to be boilerplate stuff, especially on any kind of election forms that you have or quotes that you provide, your Section 125. That's always going to be the same from what I understand. That kind of stuff is great to ask your Cornerstone representative. So if you have an agent here at Cornerstone and you are needing to know something about compliance, please ask them. They have all of that information for you. They are more than happy to help you out, to review your stuff and make sure that you have everything that you need on there. So please reach out to them. They'll be able to answer every single question. And again, Cornerstone Senior Marketing on the Medicare side, if you are not already contracted with them. Hey. All right, doesn't look like I have any other questions today, but please feel free to reach out to me if you come up with any. I will put together that social media webinar now that I know that there's some interest in it, and I'll hopefully get that out in the next couple of months here, and we'll talk more about Instagram trends and whatnot. Oh, how do I learn more about employee benefits, selling it and such? That's a wonderful question. I'm going to send you over to our employee benefits experts here. We have Nelson Culp in our Dayton office, and we have Rob Billius, who is in our Toledo office, I believe. It depends on where you are selling. But if you see my email on the screen, go ahead and send me an email, and I will forward your information over to them, and they will give you the rundown. You do not have to be contracted, but they will send me a request on LinkedIn. Yeah, you can do it on there as well. But they will give you the rundown on the kind of things that you need to know to keep in mind if you want to start selling employee benefits. I would also highly recommend that you check out the Group Corner, where we work with We have some webinars with carriers, but we also have some webinars with some vendors. So definitely check out the Group Corner. Our next one, I believe, is tomorrow. I could be wrong about that. But all of the webinar recordings are on the Resource Center. Highly recommend. And again, if you're individual too, if you want to sell individual Corner, definitely your place to go. Jeff and Brad are incredible, and they will help you do all the things that you want to do. All right, I think I'm going to shut it out, but if you guys have any questions, please reach out to me. Again, if you want to connect with me on LinkedIn, happy to do so. And I will see you guys in the next one all about social media. Thank you all for joining, and have a great day.